Assalamu alaikum guys, and welcome to another episode of Smile to Jannah. I make these videos with a very heavy heart because I know Andrew Tate has benefited many people when it comes to self-empowerment, when it comes to understanding masculinity, when it comes to fulfilling their role and their responsibility in a relationship. I know not everybody sees it that way because sometimes people will take his satirical videos out of context, and of course he's had a colorful past as well. Myself, I am very disappointed because there's a very important principle, and that is stay in your lane. If you don't know a lane, you're not equipped with it, don't get involved with it and don't ruin your legacy. At least if you want to go into that lane, prepare and do justice to it. And I think that's the issue over here. Andrew Tate had his field, his niche. However, now he's going into migration and UK politics, and he really is not cut out for this, as we saw in his exchange with Piers Morgan.
The London stabbing, Piers. The London bridge attack. He was born in Pakistan. We want to sit here and talk about how a large contingent of the people committing terror attacks in the UK and the most heinous crimes are not natively English people.
Andrew. You're making it seem like there was only one attacker. There were 3 attackers and only one of them was Pakistani. The other 2 were Moroccan. And this Pakistani had British citizenship. And it's interesting how you didn't mention that because it probably goes against the cartoon that you posted of the typical illegal immigrant. And what's interesting is somebody who talks about leaving the matrix, you are talking about pitfalls within the matrix. These are techniques used by the media, the matrix. I'll give you a couple of examples. A nurse, Lucy Letby, killed 7 babies and attempted to kill 6 others. You and the media won't be talking about her skin color and won't be talking about her ethnicity. The worst child case in recent decades, according to the NSPCC, was the Glasgow 7. They were all white and they abused 3 kids in the most obscene and sick way possible. And let's not forget the deadliest mass shooting in British history, which was done by Thomas Hamilton in 1996, and he killed 16 pupils, kids, injuring 15 others. Again, when it came to these issues, you didn't bring them up. In fact, you brought up 1 perpetrator out of 3, which shows that there's some biasness going on here.
99% of the rioters were white, but notice how the front page doesn't mention their ethnicity. Thousands of police. The rioters aren't even mentioned. When they talk about one of the actors, this keyboard warrior, again, his ethnicity is not mentioned. And the rioters en masse aren't mentioned. It's just one lone weirdo. There are so many phrases you could have used. Far-right fascist or riot organizer, but no, keyboard warrior, which is a kind of jokey term, someone you can't really take seriously. But when we talk about people defending their property, they're not men, but they're gangs of Asian men.
As you can see, you are part of the problem. That's the issue people have with your sort of rhetoric. I get it, you're against illegals, but the stuff that you've been posting, the PAKI racist slur you've been constantly using, it doesn't send the right message.
You are siding with Tommy Robinson, who is leading a far-right series of attacks on Muslims and mosques.
The Islam I was taught was one of peace and tolerance. There's not a single person alive who can force me to take sides or to hate anybody else. And I don't care what kind of Islamic person you are, to come along and tell me I should hate somebody else because of Islam is not the kind of Islam I prescribe to.
Your religion doesn't... What? Let me give you a hadith, a saying of the Prophet. Indeed, the strongest bond of faith is to love for the sake of Allah and hate for the sake of Allah. People like Mr. Robinson, who, a killer of 77 people, Anders Breivik, terrorist in Norway, he donated to rebel media that hire extremists like Tommy Robinson himself, yes, and Avi Yemeni. Not to mention the terrorist that killed 49 people in a mosque in New Zealand. He mentioned the EDL. The founder is, of course, Tommy Robinson, and he mentioned them very fondly. This is a guy that you're defending? This is a guy that you can't hate? Somebody who has caused the deaths of scores of Muslims.
We need to show the world that we are not the hateful ideology they think we are. We need to show the world that we believe in God and we trust God.
Yes, I agree with you, we need to show the world, but by helping the likes of Tel Aviv Tommy?
And then I got my Zionist card out, which said, I am a Zionist. And I bought everything. Shalom. If there was a war tomorrow, which there will be, because I'll probably start at the end of the session. If there was a war and it kicked off, I would be there on the front line fighting for Israel. Do you know why? Why not?
By helping him catalyzing riots here in the UK and attacks on mosques and the lynching of coloured folks? This is who you want to help? I get that you have an issue with illegal migration, but siding with somebody who's clearly funded, according to you as well, by the Zionists and who's made it clear that he is anti-Islam, how on earth do you expect to get good results from this?
And that we're going to stand up for our beliefs and we're not going to allow ourselves to be watered down or walked all over.
What are you talking about watering down? Here you are calling Jesus Lord.
Nothing more inspirational than saddling up with your boys in a bunch of supercars and taking time out your day to go and praise the Lord Jesus Christ.
This is after you've accepted Islam for quite a while. And where you're driving on your way to church. We don't believe Jesus is Lord. Christians believe he's part of a 3 persons Trinity. And they believe it to be one. You need a PhD, and even then you're going to struggle to understand that. In Islam, we don't believe a human being is equal to God.
The point he made is that Zionist plants.
Can I finish?
Jewish people,
May I finish,
Jewish
Piers?
people on social media.
So this is vintage Piers. He's doing the bidding for the Zionists that want Zionism and Judaism to be intertwined and one. When in reality, even Jews have an issue with this because Judaism has been around for centuries whilst Israel has not.
To be clear, then, you don't agree when he said the protests are being amplified and directed by Zionist plants on social media. You don't agree with that?
No, I think that people had a legitimate concern.
You just said Tommy is a Zionist, and if we accept that he amplified the riots, then the point is clearly correct. That's another ball dropped by you, mate.
He's admired somewhat as one of the brains of the EDL. He's just got a delivery of quotes from the Quran from his researcher in Israel.
It's going to be everything that's warmongering about Islam and how jihad is the main goal for any Muslim.
I thought I'd put this in there as well. Quran verse interpretations coming in from Tel Aviv. That's why I call him Tel Aviv Tommy.
Do you now accept that when you said on the 29th of July that there was an illegal immigrant who had perpetrated this crime, that you were wrong?
I accept it looks like the facts of the matter say, in fact, it was a migrant instead of an illegal migrant. However, there's a huge number of crimes committed by illegal migrants, and I still think the country's not safe as long as they're allowed to come into.
Yes, but when you couple it with the anti-Muslim sentiment, it's not just about migrants. It ends up becoming about certain types of migrants, i.e. the people that have been demonized for quite a while now, scapegoated.
Well, firstly, I'll start by saying I didn't know Nigel Farage said those things about me, which is a shame because I'm actually a fan of him. I think he's trying to do the right thing.
Well, I can't say I'm surprised. This guy seems to be supporting anyone who is anti-Muslim. I mean, that's the impression that I'm getting. And not only has he been backstabbed by Nigel, and get used to this because you're going to be backstabbed by a lot of people in the right wing. Here's the sort of things that Nigel says.
We have a growing number of young people in this country who do not subscribe to British values, in fact, loathe much of what we stand for.
Are we talking about Muslims here?
We are.
He has, in effect, brushed Muslim kids as not subscribing and loathing British values. In other words, otherizing them, villainizing them. The people whom you respect demonize us. And they have caused a rise in Islamophobic attacks. In fact, according to The Guardian, over 300% since October the 7th. These were a few blunders that Tate made during his exchange with Piers Morgan, who is trying to win back Muslim community, and he thinks that we have thrown Tate under the bus. No, we're holding our brother to account. That's what we're doing. We see him as a brother. However, when your brother does something severe, he needs a severe reminder. And he's gonna be left to dry by these guys, and he's gonna lose the support of the Muslims. That's why it's important that he takes these criticisms, reflects on them, and doesn't just double down on them. I pray he has strong brothers around him rather than the weaklings that claim to be Muslim and frankly haven't really supported him, have just been massaging him as he commits these blunders and are silent. So we've had to speak out. But yeah guys, hope you benefited from this video. Let's leave it there guys. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum.